tutorial, I am going to cover Selenium from an end-to-end perspective. The complete demo will be from scratch, step by step. You will see execution in my local environment and online Selenium grid with the same two end-to-end test scripts. In addition, we will perform cross-browser testing and parallel testing. Cross-browser testing is when we execute one test on more than one browser. Parallel testing executes more than one test at the same time. You will get a lot from this session because we will also walk through how to hover an element using the actions class and how to dynamically wait for an element. All of the Selenium code is on GitHub. Now, let's take a look at the test scenarios on this e-commerce playground site. And the site is from Lambda Test. The first scenario consists of creating a new profile by clicking the My Account menu element. Then we click the Continue button. Next, we type all of the required information, then click the checkbox to show that we have read and agreed to the privacy policy. Followed by clicking the checkbox, we click the Continue button. The second scenario logs into the application by clicking the same My Account menu element. And we enter an email like 𝒉𝒆𝒂𝒂𝒕@gmail.com. Password 3400 success. And we click the login button. After clicking the login button, we search for a product like iPhone and click the search button. We select the product iPhone, which has a price of $123.20. On this page, we click the Add to Cart button, followed by clicking the black Checkout button. Those are the two scenarios that we're going to automate. Now, in my local environment, we are going to start by setting up the base test. Let's go to the IDE, right-click Java, which is in the test package. New package. The package name is Selenium E2E. Now we create the class. Right-click the same Selenium E2E package, new Java class. Name is base test. The driver will be protected. WebDriver driver. Let me add or insert some lines, then import WebDriver. The driver is protected so members in this class can access the driver. Also, other classes in this same Selenium end-to-end package can access the driver. Members in this class are variables and methods. The first method will use a before method annotation from TestNG. Public void setup. We're going to set up our drivers and manage the drivers using WebDriver Manager. Chrome driver setup. Now we create an instance of Chrome driver by writing driver equals new Chrome driver. Then maximize the window by writing driver.manage.window.maximize. After maximizing the window, we must load the application by using the driver.get method. Let's go back to the AUT and copy the URL. Paste the URL. Now we are finished setting up the test. Let's close the browser by writing after method public void tear down. Then we write driver.quit. Quit is a method for closing the browser and quitting the driver. Now, most of the times in a demo, I comment out the driver.quit method because execution from Selenium is real fast and it prevents us from seeing the end of the execution. But when I comment out the quit method, the application will remain open so we can see the end of the execution. Now, for the first scenario, we're going to create a new profile. We go back to the IDE. We right-click Selenium E2E package, select New Java class. The name is Create New Profile. This class extends the base test. The purpose of a base test is to have common methods for every test. That's why the Create New Profile class inherits the base test. Write the test annotation followed by public void test1. Create new profile. Let me also add some lines here. And the first step for this test is to click My Account. So let's inspect My Account. We see it has a span tag, but does not have an ID attribute. But we can locate the element using XPath. Control F to bring up the search bar at the bottom. Then we write the 2 forward slashes followed by the span tag. Open and closing square brackets contains text, comma, 2 single quotes. At this point, we write the text name, which is my account. And after writing my account, we see that we have 2 elements because we see it shows 1 of 2. We need a unique element to click the menu element, my account. And the element we need is 2 of 2 because 1 of 2 does not highlight my account, but 2 of 2 highlights my account. So let's find an ancestor that has an ID attribute. Scroll up and we see an ID value of 𝑤𝒍𝒔𝒕𝒊𝒏𝒈 followed by 217834. Now, there are times when I see a number and a value, I think that it's a dynamic value, but this here, 217834, is a static value. Therefore, we do not have to worry about this value changing. So I'm going to copy this information, and before the span tag, I'm going to write div, square brackets, @ID equals 2 single quotes, paste the value. Now, our value is unique because it shows 1 of 1. Go back to the IDE, and the first step with Selenium is finding an element. Therefore, we write driver.findElement by XPath because XPath is what we use to find the element in the DOM. Paste the value. And the action is click. Do you see how long this statement is for clicking my account? Let me show you how to make this statement easier to read. For every step, we must find the element. So since we found the element, we can encapsulate this information with the DRY principle. The DRY principle stands for don't repeat yourself. DRY, D-R-Y, don't repeat yourself. So now that we're going to encapsulate this statement, I want to show you a quick way to do that. And that's by writing private web element find is the name of the method. Let's import web element. We're going to return driver.findElement. And let's have a parameter of 𝒑𝒆𝒏𝒈. And that's all we need to encapsulate driver.findElement. So rather than writing driver.findElement every single time when we are trying to find an element, all we need to do is write find. For example, the next method we're going to use is click and private void click. We're going to pass in the same 𝒑𝒆𝒏𝒈 parameter, and this time rather than writing driver.findElement, I just write find, then locator, then the action of click. One more method to help with the drop principle and readability, and that is private void type. Pass in the 𝒑𝒆𝒏𝒈 and string text. Now we're going to do the same thing and write find locator. This time we're going to write send keys, because send keys is a Selenium method for typing data, and we pass in text. In a production environment, on that type of project, we should not have Selenium methods in our test. However, this is a demo, so we can write the Selenium methods just for demonstration purposes. From this point on, we do not have to use driver.findElement, and watch how good and easy it is for us to read and write this information. Starting with the click method, we're going to take this by XPath value, go up and write a field for my account menu. Paste the value, add the semicolon. Now you're going to see how easy it is to write this information and quick. All we need to do for clicking my account is to right click my account menu. And this same statement on line 14 produced the same action that we have on line 13. So now that we do not need line 13 because it's long and not needed, I'm going to comment out that information. Normally I would remove the statement, but let's keep it here so you can see the difference at all times. Now that I have commented out that statement, after clicking the My Account menu item, we click the Continue button. So let's go back to this page after I log out. We're going to click My Account, then Continue. So let's inspect Continue. And we see it's a hyperlink because it has an A tag. The ancestor has content as an ID value. So let's find it by writing div square brackets at ID equals bingo. We found the ancestor element. Now let's continue with finding the Continue button. Text equals continue. Bingo, we found the element. So let's copy the value, then go back to the IDE. And we write by continue button by XPath. Paste the value, add the semicolon. For the step, we write click continue button. That's it. That's what I mean about encapsulation using the drop principle. We do not have to repeat driver.findElement by a Selenium locator plus this value, followed by an action. We just write the action and the field name. Now, the next step is for us to inspect the registration page. And it has 6 required fields and a checkbox plus the continue button. Let's start by inspecting the first name. It has an ID value of input first name. Inspect last name. It also has an ID value. Input last name. Okay, that's cool. So inspect email. It has an ID value of input-email. Do you see the pattern? Most of the values, well, all of the values we looked at so far start with input hyphen. Let's inspect telephone. The value is input hyphen telephone. Inspect password. It has an ID value of input hyphen password. Inspect password confirm. It has an ID value of input hyphen confirm. I think I can remember those values. So let's go back to the IDE and write the field names. Next is by first name. By ID with the value of input hyphen first name. After first name, we have by last name. By ID, input hyphen last name. After last name, I think the next field was email. By ID, input hyphen email. After email, it was telephone. By ID, input hyphen telephone. Now we at the password fields, and that's by password equals by ID. The value was input hyphen password. I'm going to copy, then paste for confirm password. And the value was input hyphen confirm. Okay, so that's it for the values, for the fields, for the steps. We're going to write the next step at the continue button is to type first name. And the first name is Rex. Type last name, and that is Jones with a suffix of second. After last name, it was email. The email, 𝒉𝒆𝒔𝒐@gmail.com. Let's type the password. No, the next one is telephone. The telephone is 214-225-1234. Now we type the password. And the password is 3400 success. Copy, paste, and change password to confirm password. That's all we need for the steps. Know what? I just thought about something. We are going to execute cross-browser testing and parallel testing. The test will fail if the same email is entered when create a new profile. Therefore, let's generate a random email so the email is unique every time. So at the bottom, let's write a method to generate an email. Generate random email. And to do that, we return, I think it's random string utils dot random. The count, which is the total number of characters, is 4. True for letters, true for numbers. Let's add this information to the next line so it won't be so far on one line. And we're going to add at gmail.com. Okay, now we are going to, I see that it is a line here, and the line is because, let's check right quick. What does it say? May generate a string. Yes, my bad. We're going to return a string, so it should not be void. It should be string. I apologize for that. Now the lines are gone. Let me recap this here. The number 4 is the count. That means there will be a total of 4 characters. It will be a combination of letters and numbers because they both have true as the value. So now let's replace my email, 𝒉𝒐𝒂𝒂𝒒@gmail, with generate random email. Now, there are 3 more steps in the application that we must perform, and we're going to inspect the checkbox. And it does not have an ID attribute, but it has a for attribute with the value of input-agree. So let's write 2 forward slashes, label, which is the tag name, open and closing parentheses, at 4 equal to single quotes, and we're going to write the value of input-agree. Bingo. We found the element. Copy, they go back to the IDE. And for the field name, we're going to make it agree checkbox with the value of by XPath, then paste it in input-agree. Now for the step, after we type confirm password, we click the agree checkbox. Next is to inspect the continue button. It also does not have an ID attribute. However, we see the input tag name, type attribute, and value attribute. We can use these 2 attributes to find this element. So I'm going to write 2 forward slashes, input, square brackets, at type. The type was submit. And the value was continue. There it is. We found the element. Copy, go back to the IDE. We're going to write by, this here was continue registration button. So that we have this continue button, we're going to add the semicolon, then add the step. Click continue registration button. Good. At this point, let's run the code to see if the code is working. We see that the application shows your account has been created. The last step is to log out of the application. In the application, there are 2 ways to log out of the application. One way is to click the log out link at the bottom of the page. Another way is to hover my account, then click log out. Let me take this opportunity to show you how to hover an element. Inspect, log out. I'm going to drag the DOM to the bottom, also increase the DOM so you can see it better. Let me inspect one more time. we see it has a span tag and one class attribute. No, so let me do that one more time because this is not the log out link. Let me do it again. So it is the log out link. I apologize. It has a span tag and it has a class attribute. Okay, so now that we have that, we're going to scroll up the DOM to see if the ancestor has an ID value. Yes, we see it has widget navbar 217834 as the ID value. So I'm going to find the element by writing 2/ div square brackets at ID equals 2 single quotes, and we found the value element. So we're going to now find the next element, which one we need to log out, and that is span 2 brackets contains parenthesis text. At this point, we write log out, and we found the element. This is the one I was looking for earlier. So when I inspected log out, it did not show this element. That's why I was saying it should have one class attribute, but this is the one we need. Copy. Now go back to the application, and we're going to write by logout by XPath, and it's a long XPath value. Good thing we are writing this here with encapsulation, because for the step, all we need to do is right click logout. However, we must first hover my account before clicking the logout link. And to hover an element, we start by writing actions with an object reference of ACT. It can be any name, but let's use ACT as the reference name. New actions. Then pass in driver. Now that we have actions and an object reference, we write ACT, object reference, dot operator, followed by a method. And the method we're going to use is move to element. The element we want to move to must be first found. And we write find, then the locator, which is the my account menu. We move into the my account menu item to perform the action. Now this completes the statement, because we're going to perform an action of moving to the my account menu element. Now let's run to see if the new profile gets created before the test script logs out. The header shows account log out. That means the test passed. That's good. Now, for the next scenario, we're going to select the product, add the product to a cart, then check out for the second scenario. Let's go back to the IDE, and we're going to create a new class by right-clicking the package Selenium E2E, new Java class. The name of the class is called add to cart _ checkout. This class also extends base test. Let's go back to the AUT, and we're going to go through the next scenario. And that scenario starts by clicking my account. And when we click my account, then it types email address, password, followed by clicking the login button. Let's inspect email address, because my account will remain the same is going to have the same value, just like input email is the same as the email from the registration page. Inspect password. It also have the same ID value as the registration page, input-password. Now let's inspect the login button. It has a type attribute and value attribute inside of the input tag. Now let's find this element using the type and value attributes. Start with 2 forward slashes, input at type equals submit, if I can spell it right, and we're going to write at value equals, and the value is login. Bingo, we found the element. Now I'm going to copy the value and go back to the IDE. In the IDE, let's write by login button by XPath. Paste the value. Let's copy the other values from the create new profile class, since they have some of the same values. And in that create new profile, we have the my account menu field, continue button. We don't need all of these, but let's stop at password and paste the values here. And after I paste the values, I'm going to remove continue button, first name, last name, keep email, and also remove telephone. And let me put these in order, because I think the login button will go after the password field. Now, let's also copy and paste some more information from this create new profile, like the find method, click method, and type method. We're going to need those so we can do the encapsulation. Okay, so after pasting these values, we can go ahead and start with our test. And the test starts with at test, the annotation, public void test2. And test2 is called add to cart underscore checkout. Now, the first step is to click my account. Menu. Good. The next step is to type the email. And that email is going to be the existing email that I have already. And it would not be a problem since we are logging into the application. So we do not need to generate a random email. The password is 3400 success. The last step is to log into the application, and that is to click the login button. Now we are finished logging into the application. The next step is to enter the information in the application, and that is 𝒉𝒆𝒒𝒒𝒔𝒐@gmail.com, 3400 success, login button. Now let's inspect the search field. Right click, inspect. We see it does not have an ID attribute, but the area label has a value called search for products. Now we have to search for products, but let's go up and see if the ancestor has an ID attribute. And the value is ID entry 217822. Now let's find the element by writing div square brackets at ID equals 2 single quotes. Bingo, we found the ancestor. Next is the element we need, which is the search field. And to find that, we write input square brackets at area label equal to search for products. Bingo. It shows 1 of 1. Copy that value and go back to the IDE. Now we're going to add the field, which is by search field. By XPath, paste the value, and that is a longer value. Now the step for that is to write type search field, and the value is iPhone. Now that we have the iPhone, we just need one more thing, and that is to add the other remaining values. And the other remaining values, I believe it's 4 of those values. And those 4, let's write them right now. By, I believe it's by the search button. Yes, by search button, by iPhone, because we're going to click the iPhone, by add to cart button, and we're going to click the add to cart button, and the last one is by checkout button. We're going to come back and enter the values for that. So let's start by inspecting the search button on the application. We see it does not have an ID attribute, but it has a type attribute and class attribute. Let's see about finding this by going up and find an ancestor with the search value. And let's find that by writing div square brackets at ID, paste the value. Okay, so we found that. Now let's find the button. Button tag name, and we're going to find the text and see if it equals search with the capital letter. Yes, so we found that information. Let's go back to the IDE. Equals by XPath. Now, for the step, we type click search button. Okay, so the next step is to find the iPhone. So I'm going to enter iPhone in the search field and click the search button. On this next page, I'm going to click iPhone. So we inspect, and the element is a hyperlink. And we can find that by using iPhone. But let's go up because there are 4 iPhones. And I'm going to look for the ancestor ID, which has a value of 212.469, entry _ 212.469. 2 forward slashes, div at ID equals the value. Bingo. Now let's find the text of iPhone. A for the hyperlink, text, parenthesis, equals iPhone. Bingo. So now I'm going to go back to the IDE and paste the value by XPath. Bingo. Now we click the iPhone. We are almost finished with the steps. The next step is to go to the AUT, and we're going to click the add to cart button. Inspect. It has add to cart as the text, but I do not see an ID attribute. It's okay. So let's do like we have done with the other ones and go up, and we see that the parent has an ID value of entry _ 216842. To find it using XPath, we're going to write 2 forward slashes div two square brackets at ID and paste the value. We found the parent. Now let's find the element we need, which is the add to carts button. We find that by writing 2 forward slashes, the button tag name, 2 square brackets, text, parenthesis, equal, 2 single quotes, and within the single quotes, we write add to cart. Bingo. We found it, copy the value, go back to the field, then we write by XPath, paste in the value. Then we have the step, and the step is to click add to cart button. We're almost complete with the whole thing. Now we have one more thing, and that is to inspect the checkout button. It's also a hyperlink, but there's no information here. So let's scroll up to see if we can find the ancestor. And it has an ID value of notification-box-top. Let's also find that one by writing div square brackets at ID equals and the value. Now we're going to find the text of the checkout to see if it contains the text. Hyperlink represented by the A tag contains parenthesis with text on the inside, comma, 2 single quotes, checkout. Now it's not showing up because checkout is not there anymore. Let's see if it works now. Bingo. Found the element. Now let's go back to the IDE and write by XPath and paste the value. And we're going to click the checkout button. Here's the catch. At this point, our test would fail because Selenium would execute super fast and not click the checkout button. So before clicking the checkout button, let's add a dynamic wait statement using WebDriver wait. This is an explicit wait statement. WebDriver wait equals new WebDriver wait. And we're going to pass in the driver, duration of seconds of 5. Add the semicolon. Let's use wait dot until expected conditions. What's the expected conditions we want to use? Visibility of elements located. What's the element that we want to locate? Let me do this over one more time because it was a mix-up. Visibility of elements located. And the element we are looking for is the checkout button. Okay, so these two statements is a combination of 2 actions that will be performed. One of 2 actions. It will wait for a max of 5 seconds for the checkout button to show up, or it would time out if the checkout button does not show up. That's it for the second scenario. Now let's run and see what happens. We should see the iPhone with a unit price and a total price. Bingo. We see the iPhone, unit price and total price. The total price is higher than what we expect, but if we add 1 here, it will have the correct information. Unit price and total price. Now, for the next concept, we're going to look at cross-browser testing. We're going to execute on Chrome and Microsoft Edge. let's go to the IDE. And the first step is to create the code in the TestNG XML file. So let's go up to the project Lambda Test Videos. Right click, new TestNG. The name TestNG underscore cross browser underscore parallel dot XML. The suite name, let's make it cross browser hyphen parallel testing. Okay. We will create two tests. One test will execute on Chrome and the other test will execute on Edge. Therefore, the first test tag will have a name of test on Chrome. Within the test tag, we write parameter, and the name is browser. The value, Chrome. Bingo. Now, the parameter tag will pass its name and value to our setup method in the base test. Next is the classes. And for class, this, we're going to add the class. And we start with the package name, which is Selenium WebDriver, followed by the test or the class name. And we're going to use create new profile as the first class. And the screen is freezing up. Bingo, there it is. Now, for the second class, we're going to have Selenium WebDriver as the package name and select add to cart. That's it for setting up the test on Chrome. Let's also set up the same test on end-to-end for Edge. And we're going to copy the complete test information. Copy it and then paste it. Change Chrome to Edge for the name and for the value, and keep the same classes. Okay, so now let's go back to the base test to write our Java with TestNG code. We start with the parameters annotation. It's optional to include value equals and the curly brackets, but we need the double quotes and the same value from the XML file, which is browser. To show you it is not required, I'm going to remove the curly brackets and value and just leave it that way. Add a string value of browser. And once we have that, I'm going to now include either a Java if statement or a Java switch case statement. Either way is okay. So I'm going to add some room and we're going to put in if browser dot equals ignore case. And the case we're going to put here, or the string, we're going to put in Chrome. Equals ignore case makes it where it doesn't matter if the Chrome value is capitalized or not capitalized. Also, we're going to cut this information for Chrome and paste it. And do the same thing as an if statement. Browser dot, we can also use the regular equals if you wanted to, and put Edge. And for Edge, we're going to write WebDriver manager dot edge driver dot set up. Driver equals new edge driver. Create an instance for that. Bingo. Now let's use Firefox as an else statement, just in case someone write in the wrong browser name. So we're going to put else WebDriver manager dot Firefox driver dot setup. Driver equals new Firefox driver. Bingo. This time when we execute, it will execute the same two scenarios on Chrome and Edge. Go back to the XML file and run. You see it's executing on Chrome. Test 1 pass. Now it's executing on Edge. Test 1 and test 2 passed for Chrome. Now it's on Edge. When it's finished executing, I will show you how it also passes on Edge. It looks like the test is finished. Almost one more. Bingo. We see the unit price and the total price. Go back to the IDE and both tests pass on Chrome and Edge. That's it for cross-browser testing. The next concept is parallel testing. It's a process of running two or more tests at the same time. We go back to the XML file. In the suite, after name, we add parallel equal to methods. And we add thread count equal to 2. Normally, parallel and thread count are used together. Parallel equal to methods means all the test methods might run in a different thread. Let's run. Do you see how the run window shows two methods executing at the same time? There's parallel testing. Next, you will see both tests run on Edge because this here is Chrome. There it is. It's showing both running on Edge. Executing at the same time. Okay, so that's it for parallel testing. The next concept is online Selenium Grid. It makes sure our web application works smoothly on every desktop and mobile browser. Let's go to the automation capabilities generator and see the code for languages and the framework. Also, Selenium 4 or Selenium 3. The languages are Java, Node.js, C#, PHP, Python, and Ruby. The frameworks are JUnit, TestNG, and Selenium. Here's the code that we can copy and run on the cloud. Okay, the code, it updates on how we configure our application or capabilities, depending on how we configure applications. For example, line 3, it shows browser version 104.0, but it changes if I select 103. Now it shows 103.0 as the version. We also have versions for Microsoft Edge and Firefox, plus more. Now, if I scroll down, we see it's a place for us to enter build settings and test configuration. Line 5 and 6 has the information for username and access key. I mentioned how we can copy the code, but my plan is to demo the code step by step from scratch. So let's go to automationlambdatest.com to get our credentials. Under automation build, we can go to the right corner, top right corner, click access key, and then copy the information like the access key. So now let's go back to my base test. And we're going to enter all of this information so we can run on Selenium Grid. I could remove or comment out all of this code, but I want it to be available for anyone that may want to use it and copy from GitHub. So let's just create a new setup method in both classes, the create new profile class and the add to cart checkout class. We're going to create a base test by doing the same information we done in this other base test class. We're going to set up the same way. So start by removing extends base test, because we're not going to use the base test. Then write public WebDriver driver. Import WebDriver. Next, we write private string username equal to rex.jones. Next is the access key. And I'm going to paste that I got from the other web application. Next is the hub. And the hub is at hub.lambdatest.com/wd/hub. Bingo. Last is the desired capabilities. And this will help us set up the test. The purpose of desired capabilities is to declare basic information such as platforms, browsers, and the version of a browser. For those three capabilities, let's go back to the XML file. And we're going to include the parameters. To test on Chrome, we write parameter. Name is version. The version we saw from the application was 103.0. The next parameter we're going to add is the platform. And the value is Windows 10. Let's copy this same information to Edge. You know what? Let's add one more browser for Firefox. So I'm going to copy the information for Edge and paste it for Firefox. And of course, change the name to Firefox and the value to Firefox. Back to the class, create new profile. I'm going to add the parameters annotation. And let me do that below the field names and above the tests. Parameters annotation, and the annotation will be value equals browser the version and the platform. Also include the before method annotation from TestNG, public, void, set up. The parameters will be string browser, string version, and string platform. Now, let's set up the capabilities by writing 𝒕𝒆𝒔𝒕𝒊𝒏. The key will be build. The value will be 1.0. Copy, paste this information, change build to name. Change 1.0 to Selenium WebDriver. Next is platform. And I'm going to change 1.0 to platform. Bingo. Also, the version. And we're going to also pass in that value from the XML file. There are 4 more capabilities: network, console, visual, and video. So when I paste these, I'm going to change build to network. Change the second information to console, visual, and video. Each of these values will be set to true. So I'm going to copy, paste the value of true. Network captures a recording when executing the test. Console records the JavaScript logs. Visual takes a screenshot of every test step. And video records up to 10 minutes and help record the complete screen when executing. Now, by default, network, console, and visual are set to false. However, video is set to true by default, but I wanted to demonstrate it and also explain it. Now, there is one more thing before running on the grid. We must implement a try-catch block for remote WebDriver. So now, let's implement the try-catch block. And we start by writing try. Then instantiate driver equals new remote WebDriver. And we're going to pass in new URL and HTTPS : 2 forward slashes followed by username. Also, we're going to add the colon. And after the colon, let's skip another line and put access key plus the hub. And the hub will be followed by caps. And let's close that up. And add the semicolon. Import URL right quick. Now, we have to implement the catch statement. And let me bring this over some more so we have more room to see. Now, with the catch statement, we simply write catch, and we have to pass in the exception that we want to catch if there is an exception. And the exception is called malformed URL exception. And we're going to print the stack trace. Now we load the application. Go back to the base test, copy the driver.get method, and we're going to paste to load the application. That's it. Let's add this same setup to the second scenario. Therefore, I'm going to copy all of this information to set up the test, and paste it in the add to cart checkout class. Bingo. And we see how there's a lot of red writing. That's because I must also add some more information. Plus remove extends base test. But the other information that we must add is the driver, username, access key, hub, and desired capabilities. So let's scroll up and we're going to copy. Then go back and paste. Scroll down and the red writing is all gone. It's complete. Both classes are set up. Looks like browser capability is missing. So the browser capability that is missing is browser name, 𝒂𝒄𝒒𝒄𝒕 browser name. Then we pass in browser. Got to go back to both classes and add that missing information before we run our test. On the automation.lambdatest.com site, we should see two icons for Chrome browser and some for Firefox and Edge. Right now in the IDE, we see two tests are running at the same time. Go to here and we see multiple tests running at the same time. If we click to view live test, generating the test logs, and it shows a screenshot of the test. So let me go back right quick, because in this same session right here, we see that we can view a screenshot and also view parameters. In addition to viewing the screenshot and parameters, we can also view a recording of the execution. But before viewing the recording, let's go to one of these steps, and we see that it has a screenshot of the application at that particular step. Now, let's view a recording of the execution. I'm going to rewind the recording and let it play. And it's showing the complete execution. That's the account logout execution. You know what? That's it for the Selenium Online Grid execution for Selenium end-to-end. I've showed you in my local environment. We perform cross-browser testing and parallel testing for 2 test scenarios. That's it, and thanks for watching. If you would like to learn more, then make sure to follow the blogs at www.lambdatest.com/blog and community.lambdatest.com. In addition to the blogs, you can earn a certification at www.lambdatest.com/certifications. Get educated, get recognized.